York awakens back in the red room, or white room, as it were, walking through multiple doors before finding a man standing in the middle of the room.
Look carefully, boy. At times, we must purge things from this world because they should not exist, even if it means losing someone that you love.
Come on with these jump scares. York wakes up for real this time and goes for his breakfast and morning coffee while reading the morning paper.
It says to hurry, and the first letter of each line is Harry. Hurry to Harry.
So like every sane individual, York thinks it's a sign to go see Harry. Man, that is really ugly carpet. It looks like casino carpet.
Hey, am I still a suspect?
No.
Okay, well, good.
Nothing to be ashamed of, right? What's there to worry about?
Nothing in particular. No, nothing at all. I'm clean. As clean as the sheets in this hotel.
Hotel sheets are notorious for being clean. York finds Emily outside where she asks if he's seen Thomas.
No, I haven't seen him. Have you tried the radio?
I've been trying, but he's not answering. Nick said that Thomas disappeared sometime during the night. He kept calling for him, but Thomas stopped responding. I'm a bit worried.
York tells Emily to search for Thomas while he goes to see Harry. Michael meets York at the front and tells him he can go ahead to meet Harry. However, Harry has set up a puzzle York must solve before he meets with him. It seems to me that Harry knows the situation is dire and time is limited, but everybody in this town is cuckoo bananas, so why should Harry be any different?
Mr. Francis York Morgan, some tea with sugar is what's best admired.
God, why don't you just tell York to look in the sugar container?
Harry, where did you get these seeds?
Harry, through Michael, tells York he'll give the information he's looking for, but not until he finds a specific place. The only clue he gives York is the place is crowded but quiet.
A crowded place, and yet it is very quiet there. Have you figured it out, Zach? Must be the graveyard.
York locates the graveyard and finds Brian. Hi, Brian. Nice to see you again.
Is there a tree in the graveyard that drops red seeds?
That tree does. And that one. And that one too.
He investigates the area, taking a handful of seeds back to Harry's. Really? You could have just handed them to him. Yeah, you like that, bitch? I made a slight mess. Instead of having Michael speak for him, Harry speaks for himself. Harry tells York about the history of the red trees. 50 years before, they constructed a clock tower. Soon after, a man in a bloody yellow raincoat went on a killing spree in the town.
Legend of the Raincoat Killer? Stop playing games with me, Harry. That's nothing more than folklore. The FBI has no such record of a multiple homicide case in this town.
Under a strict gag order, the mass murder case was never made public. In fact, one could say that it was completely erased from history. Tell me, who do you think would be able to do something like that?
The military.
Harry goes on to tell York that about 10 to 20 years ago, he noticed the red seeds were different, as did another person. According to legends, if you eat the seeds and kill someone, you become immortal.
You know, I said that the incident 50 years ago was totally erased. Well, not quite. Records still exist in the sheriff's office. The old sheriff back then hated the military and did his own investigation. I need you to bring those documents here to me. Once you've done that, I'll tell you everything I know.
York agrees, albeit reluctantly, and heads to the police station to find these old records he isn't even sure exists.
York,
I told you, that's nothing more than local folklore.
Harry likes to play with people. Play with their minds, too.
Of course I don't believe him word for word. But you won't mind if I at least try to confirm that he's wrong, will you?
You look for the files by yourself? I'm still looking for Thomas.
Yeah, I can tell you're searching real hard in your office, George. Maybe he's in your coffee cup.
They're here too, Zach. This might mean we're getting warmer to what we need.
With these clues, he deduces the raincoat killer got to the station somehow looking for his file, found it, and stole it.
Zach, looks like we need to continue our search for the documents.
York tells Emily and George someone broke into the station and stole the files.
It's impossible. No one could break into there.
No, Emily. There is one person that can access that room at any time.
You don't mean Thomas?
York asks Emily to bring him coffee, and York notes the coffee cup is different from the one Thomas uses for him, and believes it's a sign to go to Velvet Falls. So, as I'm sure everybody was expecting, the three go fishing. 'Cause the coffee cup said so. It's a mini game, by the way. God, I hate fishing in video games, especially when it's required to move the plot. York reels in a metal briefcase, much to Emily's astonishment.
George, have you ever seen this handwriting?
Yes. It's Thomas's.
York asks George to take the documents to Harry. George hesitantly agrees and asks Emily to continue to look for Thomas.
Zach, George has started to change. I think the deaths of Becky and Diane had a deep effect on him. I guess this town truly is without a king now.
So York goes back to Harry's. Yeah, sorry about bouncing back and forth. It's kind of how the story goes. But now, Michael is nowhere to be seen, and the Red World comes a-callin' for York. York comes across a painting with 6 women on it. One is wearing a very familiar dress we've seen recently.
Anna, Becky, she looks like Diane, and Carol. Zach, look. Emily.
Right, so that's 5. Who's the 6th girl? I wonder. So once again, York must find his way through the Red World, but this time no clues, just escape.
Huh?
At times we must purge things from this world because they should not exist, even if it means losing someone that you love.
Zach, did you see that? I must be getting tired.
Oh yeah, that's the only weird thing you've seen in this town, York. York finds a hidden room, and within it, Harry and his Batman setup.
York, I know more than you think, but less than what you hope. I also know that this case revolves around the red seeds. But that's about it.
This is where Harry finally tells York about the massacre.
The device was emitting purple smoke outside. Just then, for the first time, the bell rang throughout the town. I reacted with fear, left the tower as fast as I could. I got back into town to see another, even more disturbing sight. The people were attacking, killing each other, rampaging as though insane. One man, dressed in a red raincoat, was particularly strong. I, too, started to feel a violent hate boiling up inside. Without thinking, I took a branch.
That's clearly a pipe.
For a moment, I didn't know what was occurring. The face beneath the hood was that of my father. The following morning, I awoke surrounded by dead bodies. After the incident, the gas seeped into the soil of the town. Even today, when it rains, a minute amount is released. That's why I never take my mask off when I'm outside. This town is dirty, York.
York leaves Harry's and is picked up by Emily.
York, we found Thomas.
Ah, he's at his house, right?
How did you know that?
Oh wow, who could have ever thought to go look for the suspect at his own house? Get out of the way, this is a police matter! Don't make me murder you while I'm hunting down this murderer! So, Emily, after this, do you want to catch a movie? Maybe some drinks at the bar and dinner? There's this bowling alley I think we should try. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, okay. Everything's good. Everything's good. So because of my great driving capabilities, Emily and York make it to Thomas's apartment and meet George, who's waiting out front.
Okay, I'm going in then. You two wait here.
We'll be ready to burst in at any moment. Just call out.
Inside, York sees a record player just finished playing a song. When he resets the needle, it plays that drunk Carol song. Well, he's probably going to prison. I'm sure nobody cares if I take this cherry pie slice, or his cigarettes, or his lollipop, or his red wig, or his wet boot prints, or his shoes. Through these clues, he deciphers that Thomas came home, cross-dressed, and met with the raincoat killer in his apartment before adjourning to the bedroom.
We need to seal off all routes out of town.
No need for that, George.
Huh?
If he was going to leave town, he would have done so by now.
Emily and George speed off, I guess to close off the exits to the town. Even though York just told him it's gonna be unnecessary. Look at the way George runs. York decides he'll head off to... Ha! That's what you get for walking in front of a car. Yeah, you know who's weak against speeding cars? Everybody.
Is that Anna?
York follows Anna all the way to a closed bar.
I almost became a goddess of the forest myself. Although I think the look might suit me. What do you think, Zach?
That might be my favorite line from York, and he's right. He would probably look pretty damn good in a red cocktail dress. Within Carol's bar, he finds 2 clues. Thomas's sheriff badge stuck to a bathroom stall with a knife, and a wooden ice pick. Man, this is a huge bar. York figures Thomas dropped his badge when entering the bar, jamming the wooden ice pick into a stuffed deer's head, which unlocked the door Thomas went through. York manages to outrun the raincoat killer one last time, bringing him back into the real world. Repeating what he saw while profiling, York jams the ice pick into the skull of the deer. Does every place in this town have a secret passageway? That would be so freaking fun! So this is basically a sex dungeon, right? And York finds a locket he's been looking for on a headless mannequin.
Zach, okay, so it's not bonus footage. It's still part of the main feature. The perpetrator is exactly who I thought it was.
Thomas dances to his sister's shitty song while York lays there unconscious. I don't know what it is about this scene, but the combination of the location and Thomas trying and failing to dance along to his sister's drunk karaoke walks that fine line of funny weird and disturbing weird. While knocked out, York dreams as himself as a child, following his father through the forest.
Dad? Dad?
Come on, boy, or it'll be too late.
Baby York walks so slow with this part. The dialogue just repeats randomly the whole time you're walking. He eventually loses sight of his father and continues to run looking for him, but gives up soon after and starts crying. Things aren't looking too good for Emily, guys. Oh, and Willie's there too, for some reason. York is now all grown up, but still in the red room.
The person you are waiting for will be here soon.
Again, that's 3 times now. York wakes up bound and blindfolded but not gagged, which might be a bad idea on Thomas's part because York is a talker.
If I hadn't seen York come into the bar, well, you wouldn't have found this place, would you? Now how about that? I guess I've always been lucky when luck was needed. That's why I've been able to stay in business, too. Although we have Willie to thank for finding this room, I suppose.
They investigate the sex dungeon and find York's cigarettes. Willie sniffs the cigarettes and Kaysen suggests they use him to track York while George stays behind to investigate the scene.
We're counting on you, boy. Welcome to the force, Deputy Willie.
So it's Kaysen, Willie, and Emily on the case. You get to follow a dog around while this music plays, and they randomly stop and talk about pointless, stupid bullshit. And when I say pointless, I mean pointless.
He can be a little selfish, but he's a good dog. He stayed with me all this time, through all the good and the bad.
How long have you been together?
Oh, we go back a long time.
York is being possibly tortured right now. Maybe not the time for Kaysen's stupid backstory. Meanwhile, our kidnapped FBI agent tries to talk to Thomas, but Thomas is just a little too far gone.
You're so kind. Unlike him. If I had someone like you, things may not have come to this.
What's wrong? Something's bothering you.
Oh no, it's just... I promised to have tea with Paula. I just remembered.
Sure, take your time, why not? So after 3 more stops of talking about nothing, not kidding, Willie finally leads these 2 assholes to the clock tower.
George, we've found out where York is. George? George! Kaysen, I'm going in alone.
Hey, you didn't forget what George said.
No, I haven't. And that's why you get to stay out here and keep trying to contact him.
She gets dragged into the Red World and has a run-in with a female shadow. Emily fights her way through the Red World, climbing the clock tower and finding...
You sure took your time.
She tries to talk Thomas down, but he has such a hatred for Emily he attacks.
I won't let you have him! You filthy pig!
This leads to a boss battle between Emily and Thomas. Thomas hops between giant gears, which is goddamn impressive considering he's in high heels, while Emily is stuck on a little platform. Despite him actively trying to kill her, Emily still cares for Thomas and tries once again to talk him down.
I hate you so much. Die, you skanky swine! You stinky mutt! Is that Thomas hanging there? Oh my god. He looks like a strung-up turkey.
Kaysen, not now! York hears the door open. Apparently this dog can turn doorknobs. And Willie unblindfolds and chews York's binds off. Then he leaves. His work is done here after all. This is a good boy.
York, are you okay? York, Thomas is dead. I shot him. He tried to kill me.
But Emily, what about the murderer?
I just told you I had to shoot Thomas.
Are you saying that Thomas was not responsible for the murders?
He has concrete alibis for all 3 murders. He also doesn't have the reverse peace symbol on his back.
Then who?
The only one with free access to the department files, and doesn't have an alibi at the time of the killings. Love G himself.
George?
Even though it was kind of spoiled back at Thomas's apartment, Thomas isn't the killer, merely a pawn for the killer.
Emily, come in.
Emily here. I've rescued Agent York from the clock tower. Thomas is dead.
And you two are both all right?
York is a little weak, but we're heading back to the department now.
York asks Emily if she's up to arresting her friend. She says she is, and the 3 head back to the station. Now it's the police station's turn to get all spooky scary. The clues here are a key to the hidden room in Carol's earrings. That's also probably a bad sign. Did he just call me an asshole? York profiles that the killer dragged Carol into this room where he bit off her tongue and stabbed her in the stomach, just like all the others.
Carol! George did this to you.
Carol ignores this question and asks about Thomas by spelling his name with her blood.
Thomas. He's dead. I shot him. I had to.
You didn't have to tell her that part, Emily.
Carol?
Kaysen! Kaysen, quick!
York takes Emily to Kaysen, asking him to take her straight to the hospital. Kaysen speeds off and York heads to the station where George, our new raincoat killer, coaxes York back into the Red World police station.
So, Zach, I'm thinking of asking Emily out for dinner once this is all over.
York makes his way through the police station up to the roof where George awaits.
Agent Francis York Morgan.
Look at those snakeskin pants and vest. The porn stash really ties the whole outfit together, don't it?
This town changed since she came here. The goddess from the city gave us the fruit of knowledge and gave us sin. When I first saw her, I realized I was such a fool. A fool for being satisfied by the petty girls from this countryside town.
Which I agree you were a fool, and you are a fool, even now.
You're the fool here.
Well, I know you are, but what am I?
He really did all of this because he got a boner for Emily.
York, have you ever shot down a deer? Oh, it's so different from shooting a man. Deer hunting is great. They can be erotic creatures.
What? Would any of this have happened if she just left town after she graduated high school? I mean, it's what a lot of people do.
York, aren't you honored? You'll be the first to congratulate me for my new powers. Yeah.
The only way George can be harmed is shooting his scar on his back. After his health gets to about half, George goes back to monologuing.
Getting Anna and Becky involved was all too easy. Carol and Thomas built a secret club for me. All we had to do was tell them about it, and they were giddy to join us immediately. That's where I used the scenes on Anna and Becky. Amazing results, let me tell you. They went berserk, like cats.
I guess they had to be super high to sleep with George multiple times, huh?
Why was I born in such a rundown dump? Why did my mother beat me every day? Why didn't Emily want me?
Alright, ladies and gents, take a moment to think about the craziest thing that could possibly happen right now. Go as crazy as your imagination can go. Did you guess that George goes Super Saiyan Akuma? No, you didn't, because that's fucking crazy. Look at this scene. Line this shit up with what York has done up to this point. Remember how this game started?
Why?
It doesn't even look like the same game. Well, after a while, York stuffs him full of bullets. George loses his mind and regresses into a child. George throws his axe, York shoots it back at him, just go with it, and George finally dies by being struck by lightning multiple times. Okay. After York confirms George is dead, he collapses from exhaustion. I just realized, how is he gonna explain all this to the FBI? How are you gonna write this shit into your report? He has yet another child dream in the Red Room. He walks past the Angel twins, all of George's victims. They're finding their gruesome deaths pretty funny, it seems. His father, and finally his mother. Afterwards, the door unlocks and Baby York steps through into the White Room where the Mystery Man and Emily are.
There is still something you need to do. Open that envelope.
York wakes up in the hospital with Ursha by his side.
How long have I been out?
A whole day, plus 10 hours or so.
Of course he's still wearing his suit. You'd think he'd be in a hospital gown and all bandaged up considering the fight he was just in.
I wanted to challenge you to a game, but you were asleep.
Dude, can you let the guy rest? He just got done fighting Super Saiyan Goku. Doc drops the bombshell that Emily was never brought to the hospital.
Kason came. He's the one who brought you here. Which reminds me, he asked me to give you this.
What is it?
I don't know. He just asked me to hand it to you after you woke up.
Zach, I have a bad feeling about this.
Oh yeah, you thought the story was over? No. Not yet. Ooh, shoot, the whole scary town is Red World Scary Town now. Pff, it's fine, these shadows aren't really— Jesus! Where the hell did you come from? It literally falls from the sky. Yeesh, even God's trying to kill York. York follows the vaguely drawn map to George's house, and oh man, York's face does not do this house justice. Place looks like it smells like mildew and ass. I'd be 0% surprised if York found a sex doll made up to resemble Emily. Actually, no, I would rather not him come across that. York finds a hidden door that leads into a basement. Here he finds the same kind of cat's cradle and hundreds of pictures of Emily. Some taken when she noticed, but most look like she had no idea George was taking her picture.
Meeting the mother is always a bad experience after killing the son.
That's something you had to do before, York? How many times before?
It wasn't a reverse peace mark. It was a tree. Kason. Forrest Kason. He's the one.
We flash back to 1956 when Harry's father donned the bloody raincoat and murdered the possessed townfolk. You actually get to play as the killer here, going around chopping down everyone in your way, while Amazing Grace is sung in the background. Why Amazing Grace? Probably because it's in the public domain. The raincoat killer makes it to the clock tower where the soldiers are pumping that purple stuff into the air. Here it's revealed that the large fellow we caught a glimpse of when Harry was recalling that night was Forrest Kason. York makes it to the clock tower only to discover the entire town, and by that I mean named characters, are all possessed by the purple mist except Isaac and Isaiah, who run to York out of fear. Wait, who the hell's the samurai? Is that Brian? If that is who that is, I'm not surprised he has a goddamn katana. Or maybe that's Michael, but I doubt he would leave Harry alone to go out when it's raining. Also, psych! The kids are also crazy violent too! Damn video games. York retreats into the theater, avoiding injuring any of the possessed townfolk. If you try and hurt or kill them, York is taken over by the mist, and you have to start this part over again. York makes it in one piece, leg wound notwithstanding, and confronts Kason.
I'm taking Emily.
Oh, but I can't allow that now, can I? York, you left her to me, in my care. Remember, you chose your job over the woman that you love.
Why is he talking like a stereotypical Bond villain all of a sudden? After some gross dialogue from Kason that's mostly just mocking York, Emily awakens to the horror of the situation.
York.
Emily!
This whole scene just made me really uncomfortable, and it's the only scene that I thought was a little overboard.
I can't. I can't go to you. I've been soiled.
No, that's not true. You have a heart that can't be soiled. No matter what happens to your body, you are still yourself.
You know, I gave Emily a lot of shit before, but she does not fucking deserve this. Emily stands to reveal the tree is growing out of her body and begs York to kill her.
York, shoot me.
Emily?
Let me die. Please.
The sight of Emily finally unlocks a long-buried memory of the day his father murdered his mother. York's father, Xander, wasn't pointing the gun at his wife, not at first anyway, but at Kaysen, who was there that night. York's mother suffered the same fate as Emily. Unable to end his wife's life, the tree grows, killing her anyways. Not able to cope with such loss, Xander kills himself in front of his child. We also find out Kaysen was the one who gave York his scar.
I saw you, Zach.
This traumatic event sends York to the White Room, where it's revealed York was actually Zach. York came into being from the trauma and took over to protect Zach, not the other way around.
My name is York. Me and you will always be together. Now, give me your hand.
I remember. I traded places with York.
How is he going to explain this to the FBI? I would kill to read his honest report. Coming out of his own head, it's now Zach who's gained back control and now must face an impossible decision. You have the choice to aim the gun at Zach, Emily, or Kaysen, and at this point, you should know there's only one decision that actually moves the plot forward. York tries, but much like his father, he's unable to take the life of the woman he loves.
Emily! Emily, what have you done? You're beautiful. The most beautiful person I've ever seen.
I want to be with you.
And with that, Emily becomes the last goddess of the forest. I guess they're all cool now? Oh, and York cock-blocked Zach. I mean, not that it matters, she's dead.
How did you get out of the Red Room?
I mean, at this point, are you even surprised he's like invincible and can bounce around like a giant ball? After Zach pumps Kaysen's balloon ass with enough bullets, he decides to go semi-final boss form and grows into a giant frog-looking creature and chases Zach to the roof. Nope. Still not the weirdest part in the game. When Zach reaches the bell tower, he dodges Frog Kaysen, sending him tumbling down to the ground.
Emily, I will avenge your death. Just a moment longer. I'll buy you a new dress to make up for all the pain I've caused you. The dress you wore when you came to my hotel room didn't seem to fit you right.
Oh yeah, look how frumpy she looked in it. Also not a nice thing to say when that's basically her death wear. She's got to wear that for the rest of her death life. The tower begins to quake as final form boss Kaysen rises from the depths, much like Cthulhu.
Kaysen, I've been meaning to tell you this. You're one crazy guy.
It's just been revoked. Wait. Kaysen's weakness is kind of funny here. It's literally just a little doll of himself that Zach just shoots until Kaysen dies. Kind of seems like something that can kill you should be more protected there, I would think. Zach even gets the good guy walking away from the explosion moment. Good for him. With Kaysen defeated, the townfolk come to their senses. Not before murdering half the town, I'm sure. While Zach says his final goodbye to Emily.
Emily, York York tries not to show it, but he's pretty shy. Don't wait for him to propose. Just ask him to marry you.
Ooh, that's a little quick, isn't it? I mean, they're ghosts now, right? They literally have an eternity to get married. After Zach is patched up once again and probably dreading that phone call to headquarters, he's approached by a maskless Harry in the gallery.
Harry, I have a few questions for you.
About what, Zach?
Your last name isn't really Stewart, is it?
Yeah, that is correct. It's really Woodman. Harry Woodman. George was my son.
Da, da, da. Oh wait, no, hold on.
You were there in the White Room when I was there. Why?
The same reason as your father. Long, long ago, I too was unable to shoot my wife. I wanted to save George too, if I could.
You're the richest person in this town. If you really wanted to get George out of that situation, you could've.
Everything was my fault.
Just seems like an excuse there, man.
York will guide Emily and the other girls into the forest.
Hey, Michael. Mind stopping the car for a moment?
Very well, Mr. Francis Zach Morgan.
Why'd he say it like that? Francis Zach Morgan. Zach follows Emily to the twins and their grandfather for one last goodbye. I kind of feel there was a line of dialogue right there that they didn't put in. Like, hey boys, why don't you go run over there or go play somewhere else instead of just awkward silence. But then again, this game is so awkward, so maybe it's just the way it is. The kids look like they're interacting with someone, then return to the adults with a necklace in their hand.
Emily really likes you, Zach. She really likes you.
No, she doesn't. Not me. She really likes that guy York, the guy you see standing next to her.
What the hell are you guys talking about?
Emily. York. Sounds like you're both doing fine. I feel better about you two now. And hey, York. I figured out why George carried on his body all the way into the woods. It was for them. He wanted Isaac and Isaiah to find her.
That's not a good thing, Zach. That's not a good thing. How nice of George to leave a mutilated corpse where children could find her.
Polly, what's that picture?
Oh, that. We took it when the clock tower was built.
50 years ago?
That's right.
Yeah, say, Polly, did you not notice Kaysen looked exactly like he did 50 years ago? Or did you not find that odd? Or were we just using the excuse of bad eyesight?
I was just thinking of a friend. Someone who was with me for a long, long time.
He must have been a really good friend then.
He's gone now, though. Gone away. To a place where we can't meet again.
I'm sorry to hear that. But if he's a friend of yours, I'm sure he's getting on just fine.
Thank you, Polly. You know what? I think so, too.
As do I, Zach. I guess he's just gonna walk with a head wound? Somebody probably should have stopped him. Sure, why not? The game closes with a bee that sounds like a motorcycle while a man with head trauma walks to the airport. Maybe he can use brain damage as an excuse in his report. And That's Deadly Premonition. I'm sure you can tell why it's such a polarizing game. It's so weird and admittedly bad in some areas, but it also marches to its own drum. And it isn't afraid to be weird, disturbing, or downright ludicrous at times. It's one of those rare games where I actually like all of the main cast with no exceptions, and it captures small town dynamics well of everyone knowing everyone and being in each other's business while also being tight-knit. I love the Twin Peaks influence shining from every aspect of this game, and I totally understand why some people straight up hate it. But it holds a very, very, very special place in my heart.
I can't believe it. This is fantastic.
I'm happy to be back. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.